In the after-hours hush of Sterling Innovations tonight, a janitor and his small son sweep a marble lobby no one notices. The silence in corporate buildings after midnight is different from ordinary quiet. It is a hush of power gone home, of ambition paused but never sleeping. The kind of stillness that settles only after executives leave behind perfume trails and polished shoes stop echoing across imported stone floors. Elias Carter pushed his cleaning cart across the vast stretch of marble, his reflection trailing beside him like someone he used to be. Beside him walked Leo. The boy clutched a one-armed robot against his chest, its missing limb wrapped with tape in a way that suggested both care and resignation. Spark, he had named it, because even broken things could still carry electricity if someone believed hard enough. "We can leave, Dad," Leo whispered finally, courage trembling in his small voice. "We don't belong here." The words floated upward across glass and chrome, straight to the CEO. Callista Monroe stood beyond a marble column 30 feet away, unseen. She had returned to retrieve a laptop forgotten in the rush to escape the coming storm. Instead, she found herself frozen in place by a sentence spoken softly by a child who had no idea what hierarchy was supposed to sound like. Hierarchy cracked in that instant. Shame rose suddenly, sharp and unexpected, and with it came a buried decision from her first month in power clawing back into consciousness. The elevator doors earlier that night had closed between two worlds. On one side lingered the scent of expensive perfume where Callista had stepped out, platinum hair catching fluorescent light, red dress cut as sharply as her quarterly decisions. On the other side drifted the faint smell of industrial cleaner that followed Elias Carter as he pushed his cart toward the service corridor. His worn badge caught the light for just a second. Carter, a ghost of the engineering badge he once wore 3 floors up. Elias was 36, but looked older beneath harsh lighting. Tall and lean, with hands that remember precision work even as they gripped a mop handle now. Hands that once adjusted valve tolerances and calibrated motor loads. Hands that now wiped coffee stains from conference room tables. His eyes carried the particular exhaustion of single fathers who work nights. A weariness softened only when Leo appeared beside him. 70 floors of glass and chrome stretched above them into a sky that never asked who polished its foundation. Security cameras blinked red from ceiling corners, recording reflections but rarely seeing people. Leo Carter was 8 years old and small for his age. His second-hand jacket hung 2 sizes too large, bought by his mother before illness took her, before winter became something you survived instead of prepared for. In his backpack, folded small beneath a sketchbook filled with robot drawings, was an eviction notice he had peeled off their apartment door that morning. He had not told his father yet. 8-year-olds learn early how to carry secrets heavier than themselves. 3 blocks away every evening at 6, Elias picked him up from a discount childcare center with peeling paint and tired staff who still tried. They ate sandwiches on the roof of a parking garage most nights, legs dangling over concrete as the city lights turned on one by one like stars they could never quite reach. Leo always asked about engineering, and Elias always answered. About water systems that cleaned themselves, about cooling towers, about motor efficiencies, about the Greywater Reclamation Project he had once led inside this very building, the one that saved $40,000 annually. Inside Elias's jacket pocket rested a leather notebook, worn edges, pages filled with sketches of improvements to aging infrastructure, ideas no one would ever see. Hospital bills from his wife's final months sat tucked between diagrams of filtration loops and pressure equalization systems, numbers that turned breathable air into suffocation. 70 floors above them, Callista Monroe ate dinner alone, catered salmon gone cold beside her keyboard while she reviewed cost reduction proposals. One email from CFO Vivian Pierce suggested another round of maintenance streamlining. Another from the board recommended eliminating redundancy in facilities management. On her desk sat an unopened letter from Adelaide Turner, her mentor and the woman who had built Sterling Innovations on a principle Callista had once admired. Technology serves people, not the other way around. The letter had arrived a week before Adelaide died. Callista had read it once, then buried it beneath quarterly reports. Numbers are nothing without people. Adelaide had written in failing, shaking script. The sentence had felt like a pebble inside an expensive shoe, uncomfortable, but easy to ignore if you kept moving fast enough. The storm arrived without warning. Lightning turned glass walls into strobe lights. Thunder rattled marble hard enough to make fluorescent panels flicker. The main elevator bank died mid-cycle, trapping maintenance crews above and leaving executive floors unattended. Night shift janitors left early, worried about flooded streets. Only Elias stayed, partly for overtime, partly because he had nowhere urgent to get to except an apartment that no longer legally belonged to them. Leo sat near the service corridor, whispering to Spark about superheroes who fix broken systems. From the executive floor above, voices drifted down through ventilation ducts, Callista berating an assistant over formatting errors, her voice rising, becoming brittle. Leo gripped his father's hand. "She's scary," he whispered. Elias knelt beside him. "She carries this whole building on her shoulders," he said gently. "That makes people hard sometimes." It happened fast, the way small disasters always do. Leo fumbled his lunchbox. Plastic clattered across marble. Cheap cafeteria food scattered across perfect tile. The container skidded to a stop inches from Callista's shoe, its red sole stark against the white floor. She had emerged from the elevator without them noticing, irritation already forming. But then, Elias dropped to his knees without hesitation, gathering every scrap with quiet dignity. No excuses, no complaint. "I apologize for the disruption," he said simply, as if spilled food were just another problem requiring a methodical solution. Callista watched his hands, the precision of movement, the way he checked twice for stray crumbs, the small nod of satisfaction when the floor gleamed again. Something shifted in her perception, a stain becoming an outline, a mop becoming a brush painting order back into chaos. The moment passed quickly, but she filed away the name on his badge. Carter, a detail that would matter later. Midnight approached. Rain softened to a whisper against glass. The marble reflected everything now, polished a mere perfection by Elias's careful work. Leo stood near the wall, staring up at the Chrome Company logo. He could not quite read. "We can leave, Dad," he said again softly. "We don't belong here." Elias set down his mop, knelt so they were eye level. "We belong anywhere we give our whole heart," he said quietly. "This floor is clean because we made it that way. That's belonging." Behind the column, Callista Monroe stood frozen, listening, watching the janitor and his son in the reflection of the polished floor. 3 figures overlapping, 2 worlds meeting on one surface. Her eyes burned. Who truly belonged in this building? The people whose names filled executive rosters, or the man who polished marble at midnight and taught his son about dignity? Morning light cut through Callista's office with accusatory brightness. She opened the HR portal, typed a query. Carter, Maintenance Department. Results loaded slowly. Then, Elias Carter, Mechanical Engineer, Level 2 Specialization. Closed-loop water systems lead engineer. Greywater Reclamation Project employment status. Terminated date. 18 months ago, authorization signature. C. Monroe. Her signature. Approved during her first month as CEO. A stack of layoffs labeled redundancy elimination. Faces reduced to numbers. Contributions converted into line items. She had erased a mind and left only hands. The archive from Adelaide Turner's office arrived that afternoon in a plain file box. No ceremony, no urgency, just an assistant placing it quietly on Callista Monroe's desk before leaving without eye contact. Inside were letters, project reports, sticky notes covered in Adelaide's enthusiastic handwriting. One folder held the original proposal for the Greywater Reclamation System. Elias Carter's name stood prominently on the cover page. In the margin, Adelaide had written in looping ink, "This man sees infrastructure as living systems. Protect him." Callista had eliminated him instead. That same morning, 3 blocks away, Leo peeled another eviction notice from their apartment door before his father woke. The landlord had stopped accepting promises. He folded the paper carefully and slid it into his backpack beside drawings of robots and mechanical guardians who fix broken things. Back at Sterling Innovations, Elias paused beside a vending machine that had been broken for weeks. He opened the service panel with a borrowed screwdriver, twisted 2 wires together using a paper clip, and a sliver of copper saved from a motor repair. The machine hummed back to life. A can dropped into the tray with a mechanical thunk that sounded almost like hope restarting. No one noticed, except the security camera that recorded everything and remembered nothing. The collision came during lunch rush. Executives and maintenance staff briefly sharing space before hierarchy reasserted itself. Bernie Cross, chief operating officer, stood near the elevators with 2 board members. Suit perfect, smile rehearsed. He spotted Leo sleeping on a lobby bench, spark clutched tightly against his chest. Bernie's voice carried across marble. "Is this a company or a daycare center?" Scattered laughter followed, the nervous kind people make when power bullies. Elias appeared from the service corridor, face carefully neutral. "I apologize," he said. "Child care center had an emergency closure. Safety regulations require he stay in a visible area." His hands trembled slightly as he lifted Leo. Callista emerged from the executive elevator at that exact moment. Her heels struck marble like a gavel. "Bernie," she said coolly, "I don't recall human dignity being removed from our company values. Perhaps you could point me to the memo where we voted to mock children." Silence dropped instantly. Smiles flickered out. Phones became suddenly fascinating. The crowd dispersed. Callista turned to Elias. "Mr. Carter, could you spare a moment?" They spoke near the windows. Leo dozing against his father's shoulder. Elias explained without embellishment. His wife's illness, the layoff, the impossibility of childcare on a janitor's wages. He did not ask for pity, did not perform suffering. He simply stated facts like an engineer presenting data. Callista listened with an attention she usually reserved for financial projections. And somewhere in that conversation, she smiled, genuinely, for the first time in months. The offer came 2 days later, delivered in person. "I'd like to offer you a consulting position in building systems," Callista said. "Part-time initially. Working on a closed-loop gray water retrofit for the entire complex." Elias said nothing. "You should know," she continued quietly. "I authorized your layoff 18 months ago. I made that decision without understanding what I was cutting. This isn't charity." A pause. "This is correction." Elias finally spoke. "I'm a janitor now. I need to climb back using my own hands." Callista nodded. "You already have," she replied. "We just need to place the ladder correctly." The workshop took shape in a converted storage room in the basement. Drafting tables, pipe sections, Leo's drawings taped proudly to the walls. Elias worked early mornings before his shift designing a system that reclaimed water from cooling towers, filtered through activated carbon beds, and recirculated for non-potable use. Leo helped label pipes with colored tape. Callista visited without heels now, listening instead of directing, learning the language of systems from a man who spoke it fluently. Respect began appearing in conversations. "Mr. Carter." A small shift in pronunciation. Leo noticed first. But influence rarely erodes quietly. Bernie Cross watched Callista's leadership softening and saw weakness. Watched respect flowing toward a janitor turned consultant and saw threat. He approached Oliver Grant, chief of security. The plan was simple. Plan a faulty valve module in Elias's test system. Cause catastrophic failure. Frame negligence. Everything would return to proper hierarchy. The alarm shrieked at 2 a.m. Water exploded from the system's main feed line, flooding the basement workshop. Electrical panels sparked violently. Maintenance staff scrambled. Security cameras captured Elias running toward the breach. Not away, his hands moving instinctively to shut off valves. But Oliver Grant's team reached him first. "Sir, you're under arrest for criminal damage to company property and unauthorized system access." Leo woke to shouting, saw handcuffs. Something broke open inside his 8-year-old chest. "He didn't do anything," he screamed. "He fixes things." Callista arrived minutes later. Gym clothes. Emergency alert still glowing on her phone. "Release him," she said calmly. Oliver began presenting evidence. Security logs. Access records. Bernie appeared, offering commentary about protocol. Callista ignored them all. Instead, She played a video file retrieved from an old service corridor backup camera. Grainy but clear enough. Bernie Cross entered the workshop 3 hours earlier, carrying a component case. Timestamp undeniable. Silence followed. Oliver went pale. Bernie's concern collapsed into panic. "I think we're done here," Callista said quietly. The hearing convened the next morning. Evidence stacked neatly. Unauthorized access logs. Fingerprint residue on the sabotage valve. Email threads discussing how contained the Carter situation. Oliver confessed first. Bernie attempted justification. Neither mattered. Elias spoke only once. "The system tells the truth. If I was negligent, it would show." Callista spoke last. "I bear responsibility for creating a culture where this seemed necessary. My decisions 18 months ago prioritized efficiency over humanity and enabled this moment." Bernie Cross and Oliver Grant were terminated immediately. Legal proceedings would follow. Accountability from the top settled uneasily across the boardroom. But Callista would rather be human than untouchable. The workshop reopened 1 week later. System rebuilt. Components bearing Elias's specifications and Leo's careful labeling. Circulation pumps hummed. Carbon filters regenerated through backflow cycles. UV sterilization units caught light like small suns. Water flowed in a clean, continuous loop. Leo stood on a step stool attaching a new armed spark. Crafted from recycled plastic tubing. Symmetry restored. The recognition ceremony took place on a Tuesday evening in the main lobby. Callista stood at a podium, Elias and Leo beside her, wearing clothes that fit properly now. "This company once fired a man it should have been learning from," she said, simply. "Tonight we correct that." Elias Carter was named Chief Maintenance Engineer for Building Systems. Applause began slowly, then built like pressure in pipes, filling the marble space with something cleansing. Additionally, the Adelaide Turner Fund was established, providing scholarships and support for single parents working non-traditional shifts. A Bring Your Child Safely program followed soon after. Spring arrived with tentative warmth. Elias and Leo's new apartment reflected the change. Clean, organized, a small succulent catching morning light on the windowsill. No eviction notices, no hidden debts, just stability. Callista visited one Saturday afternoon, carrying a robotics model kit for Leo. They ate spaghetti around a slightly wobbling table, drank lemonade from mismatched glasses, talked about Leo's new school, Astrid Academy, where his teacher had already recommended advanced placement for exceptional spatial reasoning. That evening, Leo whispered to his father, loud enough for Callista to hear, "We don't have to leave anymore." Elias's voice thickened. "We have a home anywhere respect is practiced." Nearby, the dishwasher hummed, water circulating through its own small loop, cleaning, draining, starting again. Spark stood on Leo's shelf with both arms now, watching over drawings of buildings and systems. Adelaide's letter lived framed on Callista's office wall. A reminder that numbers are nothing without people, and people are everything without pretense. Outside, the city glowed, and somewhere among towers of glass and ambition, Sterling Innovations stood quietly circulating water in efficient loops, designed by a man who had never stopped seeing infrastructure as alive. Its lobby floors polished by respect that worked both directions. Its future shaped by a simple lesson. You belong wherever you give your whole heart, and home exists anywhere dignity is practiced daily. The rest is just architecture.